And we're still staying on the Ameri deal, which has been trending for some time now. And this afternoon, I do have on the phone line Ankoma. He's a private legal practitioner. Good afternoon, Ace, and thanks for agreeing to speak with us.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Okay, you'd have to speak a bit louder, Ace.
I said, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Now, the contract on the Ameri, was this waterproof or even transparent enough?
Well, it appears to have gone through the constitutional test of transparency that it's gone to Parliament, and Parliament has given an approval. But since then, and since the aspects of it became public, questions are being asked whether that process indeed threw out a transparent, or whether the process was transparent enough, and whether the people who are tasked to keep things transparent and are paid our tax money to do that really were up and doing, or they simply passed this document without taking a look at it. The report says it took 6 minutes for the House to consider it. For a document of that volume and a document that is that intricate, I think that we were short-served severely by our Parliament.
And how critical is this for such a document, from what you're saying, to just pass through, approved, and then after that issues crop up? Because this is not the very first time that such documents have gone through a parliamentary system, and thereafter there's several such news about it.
Well, there could always be questions about everything, but at least our Parliament must show that they are up and doing, that they consider these matters that are now being raised and decided that notwithstanding those matters, they thought this was a good deal to pass for Ghana. But as the questions come, it appears our Parliament itself did not pay, or actually paid scant attention to this document and simply passed it. And that is why they are unable to answer the questions. And that is why the ministers attempt to explain the argument, even raise further questions. Our Parliament sold us short.
Now, yes, we've touched on Parliament, we've touched on the process it went through there. With your background as a legal practitioner, do you think that enough due diligence was done on this deal?
Well, I believe that whoever wrote the contract wrote it very well. I don't believe that this was a document that we originated. It must have come from the contractors. And they got all the protections that they would need, which is fair. If the sovereign goes to the market, the sovereign is bound by the rules of the market. The issue with this is probably not the legalese of it or the legal aspects of it, but it's on whether it makes commercial sense. They could have bought the equipment. We chose to leave it. That in itself isn't wrong. But there ought to have been compelling reasons why we chose to leave instead of purchase, and instead of an outright purchase. And as the ministers, if you look at the minister's press statement, he just raises questions. For example, he says, we are not going to pay for the cost of the equipment. That's untrue. That is untrue. You will pay for it. It is embedded in your lease payments. In fact, it should be. And so it is clearly untrue that you can lease an equipment for 5 years, simply pay for the lease of it, and at the end of 5 years, it becomes yours. The cost of the equipment, the capital cost, is always embedded in there. There's something that you got to pay for it. So it can't be true. So that's the first bit. Then, and then how did they own it after 5 years if it can't be true? The second thing that the minister then says that, well, we decided to lease and not to purchase because we considered other ancillary and auxiliary costs and thought it to be too expensive. So how much were those ancillary and auxiliary costs? We now know how much the thing is sold for on the open market, to the extent that we can get it on the open market. How much more was it going to cost us to make them operational if we had bought them? Us again, bringing somebody in to make them operational and us buying it after 5 years. That's information he doesn't get. So, and then there's the critical aspect of that. We, Ghana, are going to be the ones to provide fuel for the turbines. And whether we provide the fuel or not, we'll still pay for power. So if we fail to provide fuel, and the turbines don't work for 3 days, we will pay for 3 days of power as if you have enjoyed the 3 days of power. Now, these are serious financial issues that they are business issues. They are more business than legal. And these are questions that Ghanaians ought to demand answers for. And these are questions that the minister ought to provide answers for. And if he's unable to provide it, then well, we know what to say, because this is a done deal. We can't unwind the deal. But we know that our leaders sold us short.
Now, Ace, we've touched on Parliament already, and knowing that Parliament, if I should take you back, Parliament comprises the minority and majority. Now, we've mentioned that indeed they did sit to see this process go through. Is it that, and then after they come up, raise flags, non-governmental organizations also touch on what they think is not right and should be done. Is it that minority is not keeping the majority on its toes, making parliament seem a bit weak?
Well, it is not the work of the minority that makes the parliament weak. The first fundamental question is this: do we have a majority in parliament who only have a rubber stamp mentality? Because once you give them the majority, they're entitled to have is this majority in parliament acting in the best interest of Ghana, or they're just rubber stamping everything that the executive brings to them? These are questions that we need to ask. And of course, we ought to shine some light on the minority, whether they themselves were up and doing with us. But it appears that in this instance, we want to put the burden to make sure that the Jews are right on the minority. They are the minority. There is the majority who are supposed to use their power and strength to protect you and I. But we can't assume, for that argument assumes that the majority will always do something that is wrong. So it is for the minority who will not vote in power to keep the majority that we voted into power right. That's not, that concept is not right. The back office or the back office top with the executive, with the majority and with the minority. But definitely, I think that we've been so down the river with this deal.
And as a legal practitioner, would you advise the abrogation of this contract finally?
Even if I advise that, you can't. It's tight, and if you abrogate it, we pay them the 5 years anyway. Yeah, if you abrogate it, we'll pay. So simply let them do it. I mean, we've been so short. But that is what we got when we voted for whoever we voted for. Voting has consequences.
All right, bro. Thank you very much. Ankoma is a legal practitioner. We're looking at the Ameri deal from the legal background.